Welcome back to Irons United for another transfer show. Of course, we come pretty much daily or whenever there are rumours or links to the club, giving you news of players that are potentially incoming to the club, but something we've not done much of, or still has done a big video of our full squad review. But today we got some confirmation on approximately 10 players that are going to be leaving the club. The main three, or potentially three or four at the top of that list, still are, I'll do it in reverse order, Tony Martinez, Samir Nasri, Adrian, and Andy Carroll. What are your thoughts?
I don't think it's come as any surprise that any of them are leaving. Martinez has been out on loan for so long that it was quite obvious that the hierarchy at West Ham, the managers at West Ham, just maybe didn't think he was good enough to break into that first team. I know he had a little sniff at it a couple of seasons back, but didn't really do much.
Just on Tony Martinez then, do you think, I mean, there's a lot of kind of, again, you base a lot of, I don't base a lot of opinion on social media, but you see a lot of what's written on him. And a lot of fans were saying there, he didn't make it well at Oxford. He didn't do well at the other clubs he was loaned out to. He was loaned out to CD Lugo in Spain. I think he only got one goal in about 12 odd appearances.
Mm-hmm.
But when he did play for West Ham and he was developing in the second string side, he looked decent. He looked all right. Was he given enough of a chance?
Well, he looked well. You would argue that going out on loan is being given a chance, and going to a lesser league, or so as we would believe. If the Premier League is the best league in the world, if you're going to be put out on loan to any other league in any other country, and you've got good ability, you're going to prove it. Yeah. And I guess your stat there where he was loaned out and scored one goal kind of proves that he couldn't make it. He couldn't even make it in the lower leagues of England. So yeah, I think a lot of fans will argue, well, he should have been given a proper chance. But I think the way it is with most youngsters is you've got to prove yourself. You prove yourself in other leagues. There's a big call now for Josh Cullen because he's done so well at Charlton to be given a chance in the first team, because he's done well when he's been out on loan. Whereas Martinez kind of really didn't do it, did he? So,
but I find that a little bit questionable because if you look at two players, don't play for West Ham, look at Manchester United, Ashley Fletcher and Marcus Rashford. Without Ashley Fletcher, I mean, his youth career at Manchester United was flying. He got an injury. I think Man United needed to look into the youth system. And if it wasn't for Fletcher's injury, then it would have been him that take the step up and not Rashford. Now look at how Rashford has been given a chance. Wasn't as flying as much as what Ashley Fletcher was, and now he is bounced on in his career. So sometimes I just feel like, we've got to trust in our coaches and what they do with the players. And I mean, I'm not saying it's a massive loss. Mm-hmm. I'm not absolutely saying that. I'm just saying, I think I get disappointed when I hear of prospects. I think that's what it is. Players that have been touted around for a while.
Yeah, I think the thing is that a lot of youngsters are, they mad out the sort of the press coverage, from the club or from social media, etc. Sometimes makes out a player to be more than he really is.
Yeah.
And this could have been the case with Martinez. I think he was banging goals in for the development squad, and everyone was saying, here's the next big deal. But, you've got to then take that to the next step, haven't you? You've got to take that to, when you're loaned out, you've got to continue doing it.
Yeah.
When you're given a chance in the first team, you've got to take the bull by the horns. And I get what you mean about Fletcher and, Rashford and players like that. They did get their chance. But as you've also just alluded to, the manager, the team, the club itself will can see that player on a day-to-day basis and see what he's delivering in training and so on and so forth. Now, if he was really, look at Declan Rice. He was delivering in training. He was in the development squad. He made it into the first team. He was given a chance. He shown some ability. Fell out, came back in, fell out, came back in, and now he's an essential part of the team because he's proven himself. He's actually demonstrated that he is capable, and he didn't have to be loaned out because he had, they could see what he was doing in training and so on and so forth. So, Martinez isn't a big loss, and I kind of understand where you're coming from.
I mean, listen, all West Ham fans wish him all the best. Anyone that pulls on our claret and blue, whether you hate him or like him, as long as they give everything. So listen, all the best to Tony Martinez. Before we move on to the first team players, let's just wish all the best to Moses McCasey, who actually, he was this time last year, I think he signed a contract extension to his thing, then was shipped out on loan, but obviously hasn't made the cut. Noah Silvestri, Vachon Nouvel, Josh Pask, and then 4 other scholars: Mason Barrett, Kevin Dalea, Dalipi, Jay Mingy, and there's another player there I'm not even going to try and pronounce. Odysseus Sidridis, something like that still. Anyway,
I'm sure people can Google that later.
Yeah, they can Google that one. So all the best to all you guys. Let's talk about Samir Nasri. Let's do a quick one on Samir Nasri. I mean, he only really came in. He looked decent when he played still.
A real shame, because I think if he'd maintained his fitness, there'd be no hesitation. He came in, what was it, 80 grand a week. You can't, we've got too many players that are carrying injuries that we're paying big salaries on, and it's kind of a no-brainer for Pellegrini. If Nasri had proved his fitness, he would have been signed on permanently.
Do you think maybe his drug ban, had an effect on him coming back into because remember his first game he played? I mean, he looked really, really good and penetrating passes.
Undoubtedly, that would have had an effect. Anyone being out of the game for so long, but he did come to us well before December, before January, and he was training. Okay, one could argue he wasn't, getting any match fitness, but he was training with the team quite for quite some time. So it's just a massive shame because, the times he played, the times he came on, he was a massive influence. The Huddersfield game completely changed that game around when he came on as a sub.
Absolutely.
And it's a shame, but let's be honest, we have more than our fair share of injuries, and also Nasri's 31, and we've got to get that average age down in the whole squad. Yeah. So it's a shame, but it was on the cards really.
And it saves 80k a week, which is a positive sign. We'll talk about the money in a minute. Let's move on to the man we signed from Real Betis in July 2013 for a free transfer, quite possibly one of the best free transfers we've had for many a year, with over 150 appearances for the club. Really probably well known for his penalty he scored against Everton in the FA Cup, when he took his gloves off. And you look at our faces when we talk about him, because he just comes across like a proper gentleman and genuinely cares about our club. Yeah. And the man we're talking about is Adrian, whose contract is up and West Ham aren't renewing it, going off to look for some first team football. What's your thoughts on Adrian?
Well, like you said, we're both smiling because, he's given us some brilliant memories. The thing with Adrian is we know he's not the best keeper in the world, but he wears his heart on his sleeve. He loved playing for the club. There's absolutely no denying that. I think he went through spells, didn't he? Like where he had to share goalkeeping spot with Darren Randolph a couple of seasons back. And there was huge arguments at that time as to who was the better keeper. Yeah. I always advocated he was the better one. Here's a stat for you. The irony, everyone thinks that Adrian was like accident prone, and sort of giving goals away left, right, and centre. He only ever made 7 errors for goals. It was his direct errors, and one could argue, well, that's an awful lot. Well, I mean, how many seasons did he play for us? Like 7 seasons. That ain't bad, really. Averaging one error a season. But because they were quite sort of confined, to a small space of time, everyone's like, oh my God, Adrian. I loved him. He put a smile on my face, and he wasn't the best keeper in the world, not by a distance. Especially when you see the way Fabianski has played this season's just gone. But like you said, he's given us fond memories.
He has, and he does go down in the memory book. I mean, I think he was the runner-up to Hammer of the Year twice,
yeah,
and deservedly so. And it's funny still, sometimes a lot of us do describe him as not the best keeper in the world, but when you talk about 7, direct errors coming from him. And to be fair, yes, we have loads of debates about what's in front of him, and that's always been our probably biggest issue over the last 6 or 7 seasons in particular, is we've never built that partnership up in the central defence. We've never had a core in the back line, and he's done a good job, mate. Like he's done a decent job.
Exactly.
Yeah. And he's connected with the fans.
Yeah.
And he's always going to have that connection with the fans. He's going to be that guy in 20 years' time when we go to the stadium that he's going to turn up and he's going to be welcomed, and every fan is going to remember Adrian for his memories. But listen, we'll never forget that night where he took his gloves off against Everton at Upton Park.
Yeah.
And he ran up and smashed that ball in the back of the net. The passion he showed in that game was just
absolutely
unreal. So, yeah, I mean, he's going to get released, and there's strong rumours that his old club, Real Betis, are going to come back in for him. But there's also potential. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised still if another couple of Premier League clubs snapped up Adrian with experience.
There's this rumour that he'll, Liverpool are sniffing around him, as a backup keeper. And he could get a taste of a good cup run if he went there. He could get a taste of maybe some European football if he went there. He could actually play more in the first team by, having their top keeper, their top keeper playing in the Champions League, and he, plays in the league, in the same week and stuff like that. Yeah. So will it attract him? I think he'd actually want to play. I think he'd want to be first choice wherever he decides to go. So Betis coming in for him, if they offer him, the goalie slot. I think he'll probably go for that more than Liverpool. I don't
know still, but I know that, but I think sometimes I think it's easy for us to say, but when we're in the situation, and if a club like Liverpool come knocking, who are potentially offering what you have just offered, pay the wages you're looking for. I don't think it's about money for him at this stage, but the chance of European football, a cup, a trophy, that's
maybe.
Yeah, it's just that little. And
I'd be gutted if he went to another.
But there are going to be Premier League clubs that are going to be looking for a goalkeeper. There's going to be a couple of Premier League clubs that are going to be looking probably for a first-team goalkeeper, and a couple of clubs that are going to be looking for backups.
Yeah, but that's the thing I'm saying. If he goes somewhere to another Premier League club as a backup, then he may as well stay at West Ham. So I think if a Premier League club come and say to him, "You'll be our first choice," that might interest him. If Betis say you'll be our first choice, that might interest him going back home. Liverpool is a slightly different proposition because they can offer something a bit more, even as a backup. But I don't think he'll go for that. I think he'd rather go and play. And you know what? I mean, he's only 32, and he almost made he never made the Spanish squad, did he?
He was close to. He was very close. Yeah.
And that's when he was having his best form at West Ham. So, he might think, I'm only 32 years old. If I go and play regularly in Spain, I might get a better chance of having, being called up for the Spain squad. Who knows? But only he's the one that will decide what's best for him,
And that's another saving of approximately 30k a week on wages.
Something like that.
I think it is something like that. Adrian, we wish you all the best from all the guys at Irons United and all the West Ham fans do. And you're always welcome back to the club in the future. Let's move on to the man that we signed back in 2012 on loan from Liverpool, the first season back in the Premier League, and he performed well. We then signed him in May 2013 for I think it was a 15 bit above £15 million. Yeah. I remember the day we signed him. I was, I'm not going to lie, I was excited by it because he had a bit of experience in Champions League. He's scored some goals for Liverpool at the time. And in his first season, which was his best return in games and goals, After that, the last 6 seasons, he's averaged approximately 10 games a season. The man we're talking about is Andy Carroll. After 7 seasons of probably the craziest roller coaster of a career of a footballer that we've probably seen for a long, long, long time, he has now finally been released by the club. Still, thoughts?
Okay, I want to put it on record because I've always said it before. I've never been an Andy Carroll fan. Players can't help themselves when they get injured. I fully understand that, and same goes with Andy Carroll. But I think it's what you do when you're out injured, and the number of stories that we've had with Andy Carroll when he's out injured, out on the piss, out on this, out on that, etc., didn't help him get fit quicker, in my opinion. And I think that's what disappoints me as a fan, So in all honesty, I'm sorry about the injuries that he's had, but I'm glad to see him go. It's £90,000 a week for 7 seasons, plus plus the money we paid to sign him on. We've spent over £50 million on this player, and he's given us 26 goals in return in the seasons that he's been with us, or 26 Premier League goals anyway. That's nearly £2 million a goal, mate, in the seasons that he's been with us. And that's not money well spent by any stretch of the imagination. So I get that players can't help it when they get injured. I get that. But you look at other players who have been out injured, not just at West Ham, but across the footballing world, and the players are serious about their careers, get their heads down, get their injuries out of the way, do the right thing, behave in the right way, and try and get back on the pitch as soon as possible. I might be doing him a disservice in what I've just said, but it just didn't seem to me over the years that he really cared. The only time he seemed to really care was the last season of his contract, where, you could see he was really quite upset this season gone. He was really quite upset at the fact that he was actually out injured again. But he kind of knew that it was his last season,
And he knew when it was like when he played also, he knew he didn't fit into Pellegrini's style of play, his formation, the team around him didn't play to his strengths.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about, though, is in a positive note, is what's the best memories of Andy Carroll? Genuine
best memories, the overhead, the scissor kick.
Was that worth 4 million of his £50 million we spent?
No, it was a great
goal. What a goal, though! What a great
goal
it was.
Yeah. I mean, he gave some classic moments, and that's the
hat trick against Arsenal.
Hat trick against Arsenal, yeah.
Brace, was it not a brace? I was there against Tottenham under the lights. I think they still had Gareth Bale, and he scored. Was it a brace he scored? Bale scored. That's what it was. Bale scored the last minute winner. We were up 2-1, and then Bale went and scored 2 goals to win 3-2. But he gave us some fight. He
absolutely did. But they were very expensive moments.
They were. And when it comes to Andy Carroll, still, I'm on the same level as you. It's time. For me, it was maybe. I think it was probably time 1-2 seasons ago for him to go. There was always that element of, but if he is, but we've been saying that now for 5 seasons, probably. Mate.
Yeah. Because absolutely, I get what fans have said in the past. If he was fit, he would be the one of the best centre forwards we would have in the country, for England, etc. But his fitness levels are appalling, mate. Yeah. It's like, and like I say, please don't misunderstand. I feel for him for the fact that he's been out injured so many times. But if I'm wrong, then I'm sure the people that are watching will say I'm wrong. But it just didn't seem to me that he put in as much effort as other players would to actually get himself back on that pitch again, by his antics. And I know, he's recently had babies and, he's changed lifestyle, etc. But, we've had him for 7 seasons, mate. And, one could argue he probably wasted a good 3 or 4 of those through the way he was,
Absolutely. I think there was some news that broke a while ago. Some people were saying that because he bought a house in Essex that, West Ham are looking at keeping him. But I don't think it was really ever in doubt, to be honest, that West Ham were probably, or Pellegrini, if he's getting the full run at the job properly without any other, people above him having a say, then after watching what Pellegrini, when he brought Carroll into the side and what Carroll didn't offer to his setup, it just was like, it didn't make sense for him to even potentially consider that as an option.
No. And fans were arguing that, you mentioned it a moment ago. Fans were arguing, well, we're not playing to his strengths. What exactly are his strengths? Pumping the ball up, Allardyce style, to his head so he can knock it in or knock it off. That's not Pellegrini's way. Pellegrini likes a target man.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that if Andy Carroll had stayed fit, he'd be a player like Nasri. He might have been kept on. But Pellegrini can't afford to, Andy Carroll's 30 years old. Ironically, he's only 30 years old. It feels like he's been around for so long.
It does.
So he, a club can come in and use him sparingly, and maybe get the best out of him. But we can't afford that at West Ham. We can't afford to have too many players used sparingly. We need a squad of, two players in each position.
Yeah.
Where Pellegrini can rely on week in, week out. And how many games has Andy Carroll played this season? 2, 3?
Yeah, not many. And like I said, still, I think his first season he was 22 games, and after that he was averaging about 10 games per season. In actual fact, the last 3 or 4 years the average had dropped even more. But yeah, he just seemed to come back every now and then and get a run of 3 or 4 games in a row and maybe give us glimpses of what this player could do, but could never show that consistency. And I think, like you said, still, consistency with West Ham right now is not a word that goes hand in hand. And therefore, if Pellegrini's going to do something about it, he's going to have to look at the squad. And he started by, getting rid of these players. And in particular, the top, 4 players we mentioned, Martinez, Carroll, Nasri, and Carroll, Martinez, Carroll, and Adrian have freed up approximately 200k a week in wages. And that's without selling any players as well. So it's going to be an interesting summer. It really is. I mean,
I reckon. I said it in the squad review. I reckon Pellegrini and Huselos have already earmarked the players they want.
Absolutely.
They've already. So clearly, we're going to need some kind of attacking midfielder because Nasri is now gone. Clearly, we're going to need a backup keeper because Adrian's gone. Clearly, we're going to need at least one striker because Andy Carroll's gone. That's 3 players straight away that we need.
We're bringing in.
Yeah. And then it comes to, wherever else he thinks he needs strengthening. If Creswell is going, the rumour that he's going to Everton for around 8 million, interesting one, but I reckon he's already earmarked a left back for that as well.
Yeah.
So that's 4 positions straight away.
I mean, as fans, obviously we do Irons United. We try and give you some just general chit-chat points. Make sure you get your comments in below and let us know your thoughts on what we have said today. Just to kind of reiterate why we do these transfer videos is, it's not that we believe that every signature or name that is rumoured to West Ham is going to sign for the club, but what we're doing is we're looking a little bit in depth into what they can bring to the club. We're looking at their stats. We're looking at their style of play. We're looking at why maybe Pellegrini would bring them in and how he could fit them in within the team. So it's more of a kind of information, you stop into the channel, you're looking at Kagawa, for example, who we were linked to yesterday, and you want to know a little bit more about him from a West Ham fans point of view, come into the channel and have a look. And that's the reason why we're doing these videos as well. We're saying farewell to the players. Thanks for at least turning up and putting the claret and blue on. And unfortunately for players like Carroll who got injured, and Nasri again who got injured as well, the one I'm really going to miss, as we have said still, is going to be Adrian, because he's just like one of the family, really, to be honest. Yeah. But any last points you want to say still before we go?
Let's talk about the new kit briefly.
Yeah, why not? Actually, let's throw that one into the mix.
What's your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, what are my thoughts about why? What is it with the club that can't keep it just under wraps? I just don't understand. I don't get it. I don't understand it.
They deliberately didn't keep this under wraps because it means money to them. Because the sooner the fans know that the kits are out, the sooner people can start buying them. Mate.
But still, the biggest thing for me regarding the kits is, why don't we just go back to the old days where it's a lot of clubs do and release it on the last day of the season when we play our last home game, and therefore you've got 50, 60,000 fans going into the shop buying it on that day.
True.
And then on top of that, they're
True,
going to upsell, buy more in the shop, and then you're going to get all the fans online buying it, and you're going to have line in the pockets. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And what they do is that, you know, I don't know. I preferred when the club released it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm contradicting myself, but you know, when we found out that the tops were leaked, we put it out on the accounts because everyone was doing it. So we thought, well, why not? But it just annoys me. It's not a big deal, really, but it just annoys me. So I just wish we could, you know, get it properly done and get a nice, you know, they're going to arrange for a kit release, and we already seen it. Anyway, on the kits, do I like them? Of course, I think any fan has fallen in love with the away top.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting one of those. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Absolutely fallen in love with it. One of the guys made a valid point in our group saying it'd be nice if we had it without the sponsor on it, but hey ho, that's part and parcel of modern football. Yeah. Still, I like the home top. I mean, I don't walk around as a full kit wanker these days, so I'm not going to be buying the shorts or the socks, but I know you like a full kit.
I'm actually surprised at the claret shorts. I know we've worn blue shorts home for home team before, and obviously white, but I can't ever remember seeing us having claret shorts for a home kit before. Yeah. And if anyone knows otherwise, then let us know.
I don't think they have. I think they've had claret socks before in the season with the Canio and all that stuff. And
but not claret shorts. So that's interesting. I don't know about the home shirt. I think it will grow on me. I'm not enamoured by it.
I think we kind of knew it was going to take on from the Avco, you know, the 19 that era, the 1980s, you know, strip Admiral top, wasn't it?
Yes, Admiral top. Yeah. So long as it isn't pony, then it doesn't matter.
I like it, mate. I like it, and I'm going to buy one. I mean, I bought a Macron top when West Ham had Macron as their sponsor or their makers. I bought a Bukta top when Bukta made our tops. I bought a Pony. I bought Fila. I bought them all, and I'm going to buy this one. And it's not the worst. It's not my favourite, but it's not. It's not far. Right. It's all right. I like it.
But I do love the away kit.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's funny, you know, the West Ham board are bringing this claret carpet in to make West Ham feel more at home. And I guarantee you next season you'll see a sea of white around the stadium. The stadium will look empty because everyone's going to be wearing the white top every game. It's just going to blend in with the white seats. So, it's just, it's a nice top though. Yeah. So, obviously they are made by our partners at Umbro. So we'll be running a competition soon regarding them. So I'm just waiting to hear some feedback on that as well from Umbro. But make sure you go over and hit the thumbs up and like on Umbro accounts on social media. That's us still, isn't it? So
that's it. Yep.
We'll be back the rest of the week with more links. Hit the thumbs up. The channel is we've got a lot of stuff coming up for you this summer. We're doing a lot of planning this summer in preparation for the new season. Going to keep rolling with videos. Just keep following us, guys. Get subscribing. If you're watching this video right now and you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button because you'll get them notifications of when our videos will come up. And we're doing a lot. We've had ex-pros on, Frank McAvenny, Ian Bishop, Kenny Brown, some celebrities, Chris Akabusi. We're looking at getting more of these guys on for you as well. If any of you are interested, coming on and let us know. And we'll go from there. So he has been Stel. I've been Anton, and we're Irons United. Come on, you Irons.